Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your Amac podcast, Better for America. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with a remarkable guest. His name is Carl Hohsfield. Now, Carl Hohsfield is a key part of Amac's leadership team. He's multi-talented. He's got a drive and enthusiasm that leads to results. And we're going to have a conversation that you don't want to miss as we discuss how parental rights are under attack. So, folks, you're not alone. If you think that the ways of the world seem off balance, you are not crazy. You're not alone. Very excited to have with me Carl because we share a lot in common. He's a dynamic leader at Amac. He is the vice president of sales, and he does have a combination of passion and marketing expertise that really allows him substantially to contribute to Amac's expanding member benefits. He also earned a BA in Communications and Journalism with emphasis in public relations from the University of New Mexico, while also participating as a collegiate athlete playing baseball, which is really cool because that is the very thing that I think that gave him the foundation on which he quickly built a results-oriented track record in business. Now, in 2012, Carl made the decision to lend his voice to Amac's rapidly expanding constituency, and so he signed on to play a key role in growing Amac's member benefits division. And I should also mention here that Carl and we share the same relative. That relative is Dan Weber, the founder of Amac. And as you know, I'm Dan's daughter, and Carl is Dan's grandson and my nephew. Here at Amac, we value family, and we recognize that the people who serve Amac members ought to be as passionate about our mission as our founder was, and as passionate about our mission as I am today. And Carl is that man. Carl, welcome. What a joy to have you with us today.
Rebecca, thank you for having me on.
Carl, I want to speak about the Florida House Bill, HB 1557. This is a parental rights bill in education. I want to ask for your thoughts on what this means and how the left is spewing hate to camouflage their real intentions. Share with me what you know about this bill and how it's impacting you in the state of New Mexico, what you're seeing among family, friends, relatives, and in your school districts.
We send our children to school. We pay our tax dollars to pay for public schools. And we want our kids to be safe, first and foremost, when we're there. And many parents now don't feel like they're safe. We don't feel like they're safe because we feel like they're being negatively influenced. Their sexuality is being attacked. Their identity is being attacked. They're being heavily influenced by other children in the school and teachers and administrators, that it's almost like they're not good enough. Their personality, right. Something's wrong. Therefore, they need to search to make a change to their life or their sexuality. As parents, we're not comfortable with that. I know many of us are not comfortable. We want to send our kids to school for a great education, but we don't want them walking back into our home and then being told things that we're not teaching them in the household. Faith.
It violates trust is really what it does. I mean, when you say it that way.
That's right. Yeah. Trust is a great word because we don't know what's happening now. And I don't think 20, 30, 50 years ago, parents felt like that when they were sending their kids to school, that can I trust that the school administration has my children's best interests at heart? Can I trust that they understand that me as a parent, my spouse as a parent, are doing our very best to teach our children? When we teach them in the household, we don't expect someone to go against those values at school. And so that's a major concern for just the growth of children in our country, not now, but in the future. What kind of adults are we going to turn them into? They're going to eventually be teaching children the way we are now. And how is that going to influence their thoughts and their beliefs? So it's a major concern.
And you live in New Mexico. I live here in New York. You've got two lovely children that you're raising along with your wife. And you also, again, as a regular coach working with youth, you see how children, they look to their teachers as their leaders. They look to their football coach, their baseball coach as their mentor. So these teachers, these coaches and such have tremendous influence over children and over the way children think. And I think we've got to return to teaching our kids how to think, but not what to think. It's not the teacher's job to impose that. And, I said, you and we're both parents. I've got 3 kids. You've got 2 children. You're one of 6 siblings. We have a huge family. When you look at all of the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, Dan Weber's family, that is, and we're spread out across the country, and we're all seeing the same thing. We're all seeing our children. And for me, I'm seeing my grandchildren being exposed at the young age of 3 years old to the kinds of things that, you ought to know what kinds of books are being read to your 3-year-old rather, or your 3rd grader. But we're seeing this in New Mexico is my point. We're seeing it here in New York, and we're seeing it in other parts of the country. And I want to point out what Governor Ron DeSantis did. He signed House Bill HB 1557. This is the Parental Rights in Education. And that really reinforces the parents' fundamental rights to make decisions themselves regarding the upbringing of their children. And that bill, Carla, prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade. I mean, listen, for anybody out there listening, we're talking kindergarten through 3rd grade. It makes perfect sense that any normal person would agree that we should prohibit sexual instruction in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, and any type of sexual orientation should be left to the parents. I mean, this to me is a no-brainer. And this bill will also prohibit teachers from doing that, but requiring school districts to adopt procedures for notifying parents if there's any kind of change in services from the school regarding a child's mental or emotional or physical health or well-being, because we're learning, Carl, that they were hiding information, teachers, that is.
Yeah. First of all, the bill is totally reasonable. Second of all, the fact that a bill has to be introduced in the first place to stop teaching kindergarten through 3rd graders, elementary school kids, sexual orientation, identity issues. They don't even know how to process that yet. And the parents are trying so hard. The parents at home are trying so hard to just bring their child up in a manner that's reasonable to their age, that's relative to their age, and to send them to school. You used to be worried about just what stories they're going to read at story time or what they're learning in history. But now to have to even worry about that is why this bill is being introduced. And so I think it's a shame the bill has to be introduced in the first place, but at the same time, it's necessary now because this is what we're dealing with on a regular basis. Yeah,
it is. And I think that for anybody listening, you've got to have the facts and you've got to know the truth. And I want to play a clip of a mother who shares her story of her daughter whose pronouns were changed by the school, whose teachers told this student not to talk to her mother about these issues because her mother couldn't be trusted. And now we learn that this family is certainly looking to sue the district because they feel that this was some form of emotional abuse and certainly a violation of civil rights. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
In other words, school officials asked my 13-year-old child her permission as to whether or not my parental rights would be honored. After many weeks of going back and forth with the district, we learned the middle school had created a transgender, gender nonconforming support plan with our 13-year-old daughter without our knowledge or consent. The plan was a 6-page document completed with my daughter behind closed doors with 3 school officials that included the guidance counselor, the assistant principal, and a social worker I had never met. During the meeting, they asked her questions that could have significantly impacted her safety and her physical and emotional well-being, such as which restroom she preferred to use and which sex she preferred to room with on overnight field trips. The plan also directed school staff to use my daughter's birth name when speaking to us, her parents, and to use a different name in school with teachers, staff, and students. This plan directed school staff to conceal from us that this meeting and plan had ever taken place. When parents are excluded from critical decisions affecting their child's health and well-being at school, it sends the message to children that their parents' input and authority are no longer important. This created a huge wedge between our daughter and us because it sent the message that she needed to be protected from us, not by us.
So, Carl, there you have it. We're seeing it. We're hearing it. It's in the news. Unfortunately, mainstream media does not want to pick this thing up. So you've really got to do your homework. Talk to parents, too. That's another thing. But essentially what this bill builds on in Florida, this Florida bill, the parents builds on the Parents' Bill of Rights. And that was signed into law in Florida. And it's part of Governor DeSantis's year of the parent focus is really what he's calling it. He wants to protect parental rights in education. So here at Amac, we give him a round of applause for that. Parents have been increasingly under assault around the nation, but in Florida, I'm thrilled to see that somebody is standing up for the rights of parents and really the fundamental role that they play in education in their school. Carl, did you hear this crazy talk coming from Disney World? They've got various employees over at Disney that are focused on renaming characters and removing gender roles from characters. They're even going about the way in which they introduce or say hello to the audience, I should say, rather than say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. They're now changing that to hello, friends, or hello, everybody. How damaging, in your view, do you think that is to be so politically correct that we can't call boys, boys, and girls, girls?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about the bigger picture, let's talk about a company like Walt Disney. That's one of the largest companies in the world. Kids dream about going to a place like that from an early age. Many children never get a chance to. And one day, if they do get a chance to, if they understand, if parents, which they do understand, many parents understand the influence that a company like Walt Disney or Apple or any of these large companies, social media sites have over children, it's just one more layer that I believe behind the scenes, the extremists, the extreme left, the progressives are slowly dripping kind of poison into our communities. And I think the biggest impact we can have is to not be afraid to boycott going to Disney. You know, Disney cares about money first, right? So if their bottom line is impacted, then we can make a difference. If people actually are not afraid to speak out on these types of issues openly in their communities with their children and explain why this is dangerous. On the outside, it looks benign oftentimes. See, that's the thing. And then there's no coverage really in the mainstream media. But it's those little slow drips of influence that over time make a big difference. And the little slow pieces of information that are dropped in a variety of ways into our children's laps, that it's so hard to control as a parent when they have access to information from all over the place. What's happening at Disney is just one example. It's like a microcosm of what's happening across the country at the school level, at the media level, in their communities, at their schools, at their sporting events.
Everywhere.
It
everywhere.
really is. It's everywhere, but it's done so subtly initially that little by little over time, it begins to be the norm. And then if people aren't careful, you just accept it. And 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, there's no going back from that. The only way
it's what I call desensitizing people. You're desensitizing them. Yeah,
and you know, I'll be honest with you, they're doing it very smartly. They're doing it very discreetly in a way. They're doing it very slowly. And we have to recognize that and be willing to step up and fight back against it. And so an example of DeSantis's bill is a way to do that. We don't have enough governors in states like DeSantis that are fearless, that are willing to fight back. And
That's
so obviously our voting and who we put into leadership matters, right? At every level, the state representative level, senators, congressmen and women, governors, it all matters because you can see the impact DeSantis is making nationwide. Every time he
That's
speaks
right.
now, people listen. But I have a governor here in New Mexico that's on
Ugh.
the other side of the fence, right? And so it's why our state is where it is now. It's why we have failing education system and a failing state budget. Why are people flocking to Florida? That's a sign that people do support a leader like DeSantis, a governor, a state that operates like Florida. Why are people going there? Why do people want to move there? Why are other states failing while other states are succeeding? And this is just one small example. More governors need to follow suit with what DeSantis is doing and not be afraid. I think the big factor we have here is a lot of people are afraid publicly to put their voice to things. Amac, we're clearly not, right? We know what our mission is. We're not going to ever stop. But more people need to not be afraid. And I know it's easy to say, don't be afraid of losing your job. Don't be afraid of hurting a friend or somebody that doesn't believe. We just need to stand up for what we believe in and not be afraid of the pushback.
That's right. Carl, don't be afraid is right. And one person's bravery gives other people courage. Parents have every right to be informed about services offered to their children at school. So parents and grandparents, talk to your children, ask them, and don't just assume that the teacher, unfortunately, can be trusted or is right. I think that COVID was a blessing in disguise, believe it or not, for our children's education, because more parents were forced to spend more time with their children at home and sort of do that homeschooling or ask the questions. And children, some of them came out of their shell and said, I didn't like this or that. And this is how a lot of this came to the surface. Parents were asking questions, continue to ask questions. We've got to protect our children. They are the most vulnerable. And we're talking about protecting them from classroom instruction to sexualize our children. As young as 5 years old, they want to sexualize our children. Carl, Disney is going nuts over this. They're spreading false information about the law. I think it's going to backfire. It's going to be interesting to watch. I do want you to all take a listen to what DeSantis has to say about how the left is using words to camouflage their real intentions. Take a listen.
These leftist politicians, corporate media outlets, some of these activist groups, they actually have read the bill. And they're sloganeering because they don't want to admit that they support a lot of the things that we're providing protections against. For example, they support sexualizing kids in kindergarten. They support injecting woke gender ideology into second-grade classrooms. They support enabling schools to, quote, transition students to a, quote, different gender without the knowledge of the parent, much less without the parent's consent. And so what they're doing with these slogans and these narratives is they are trying to camouflage their true intentions.
So, Carl, there you have it. We hear DeSantis, who is saying, if this is what these folks are doing, see through it. It's their last attempt to camouflage the evil that they're looking to infiltrate in our school systems. And I think it's great that we've got a governor in Florida, like you said, Carl, the people we vote in make a difference. And in this case, exactly right here and right now, Ron DeSantis, one man, is making a big difference. And I pray other states follow suit.
Yes, I agree, Rebecca. To end it, I'll just share this story. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and during the pandemic, she was, 12, 13. She was attacked by these very things we're talking about. Her identity, her self-confidence, her confidence to just be a young lady, a young woman, and that being okay was attacked and influenced from all over the place. From social media, we had to, make sure we were monitoring, and we should be doing that anyway, but you wouldn't expect that just by watching a simple video or by sending your kid to school, that their self-worth is questioned. And that's what's happening. These children, their self-worth, they're being told you're not good enough the way you are, the way God made you. And so something needs to change to adapt to the changing society. And that's where, and listen, it's very easy to say, for us to say to ourselves and to parents, don't be afraid, but children are afraid. They're just children. They don't know how to handle this pressure from society. They have a leader or a teacher or an adult that is supposed to be a trusted source of knowledge, someone that they think can protect them in their school. And anything they say to our children has a huge impact.
Huge. You mentioned something so key there. You said self-worth, and tying that self-worth into believing in God and knowing that we've got a loving, almighty, powerful creator who wonderfully and very uniquely made each one of us with special gifts. And the saddest part of this all is that our faith is under attack because we stand up for the values that we hold dear. We feel that it's here at AMAC that it's absolutely disgusting, abusive, and completely immoral to sexualize the classroom instruction for 5-year-olds. Because of that, we are attacked because of our faith. So we've got to recognize that when it's that kind of evil that's being spewed out there, and when people who have good intentions and who recognize how important it is to build up the self-worth in every young child and young adult, we're not going to back down. We're not going to be bullied. And we're not going to let them think that their way of thinking is the way the majority of America thinks, because we know it's simply not true. But it does seem to be the new religion. This new woke ideology has been embraced like a religion, and our traditional values of faith, family, and freedom are under attack. So AMAC's going to be putting a lot more on our website on this. Check out our website. If you haven't downloaded the AMAC News app, go ahead and do that. You can download the AMAC News app right on your smartphone, get breaking news, set up notifications, but it's real nice and simple. Before I let you go, Carl, I want to talk to you about some of your other responsibilities here at AMAC, because you are behind the development of our really market research and benefits in the area of health insurance and Medicare-related products. So for those listening, Carl, share with everyone how they can get a hold of somebody if they have questions regarding health insurance or Medicare.
Yeah, so let me just give you the number first, okay? 1-800-334-9330. That's also on our website at amac.us. Our Medicare benefits team and our health insurance benefits team is the best in the country. And what every AMAC member and non-AMAC member needs to know, and we'll help anybody, doesn't matter if you're an AMAC member or not, with your health insurance. You need to know that whether you use an agent or not, the cost of your health insurance is the same. So if you have the ability to use a licensed agent that has your best interests at heart, that simply cares about finding the most suitable health insurance option for you, we highly suggest you use a licensed professional. Otherwise, you could do it all on your own. That's fine. But our service is free to you, and we will find the best plan for you in your area. We'll educate you in any way that you need. We'll answer all your questions, and we'll help you find the best plan for now and in your future.
Carl, thank you so much for joining us. What a privilege to have you with us today. And for those of you that want more information, go to our website, amac.us/Medicare. I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your AMAC podcast, Better for America. I look forward to seeing you back with us again next time. God bless you and have a great day, everyone.
You're listening to the Better for America podcast, presented by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. To learn more about AMAC and all it has to offer, visit us at www.amac.us.